Alright guys, I'm back and I have another product for you guys. I'm going to be going over with you guys this bead roller that I picked up. Okay, so when you pick this guy up in Amazon for a very affordable price, okay, this guy comes in a case. So it comes in a case. It comes with these clamp protectors. I guess this is so you don't damage the piece of aluminum here. So you don't damage that. So you will put this on your vise like this. It's magnetic. Okay, so it has the magnet on this side, so you can see it's magnetic, and you set it up on your vise. Let me set this up to show you guys what I'm talking about. So you have the clamps on here, and then you set this guy this way, just like this. So one thing that you have to remember is keep this in mind. If you pick up one of these and your vise is really wide, like I have another vise that's really wide, you're gonna have a hard time cranking the back. So it has a crank in the back, and I'll show you in just a second. That crank sometimes crashes against this. So here's the crank, here's the handle for the crank. So it's very straightforward. You just attach it to the back of the shaft right here, and then you rotate it and you can roll a bead. Okay, so I do have this on here, but I didn't secure it. I didn't tighten it because I wanted to show you guys what I was saying with the crank. So if this is a little bit too forward, you can see that crank is going to crash. So you have to play around with it, play around with your vise depending on how wide it is. So you might have to move it a little bit further back, or you might have to raise this up a little bit. So depending on what setup you have, it might work perfectly, or you might have to finesse it. So keep that in mind. I don't remember this product doing this when I first picked it up. I believe this started to happen the more I started to use it, but you can see there's movement here. You can see I didn't tighten it down so I could show you guys. You can see there's movement here, and this shaft is moving back and forth. So this is very critical when you're trying to roll the bead. When you start to put tension on it, it's going to want to roll forward. Even if you're holding this with your hand and you're cranking it at the same time, it's going to want to roll forward, and it's not going to do its job. It's not going to be able to roll the bead. So what I have done, and it's an easy solution, I actually created this spacer, this washer on the lathe, and it simply just goes back here. So now this is installed here, and I'm able to put the crank on and it won't slide back and forth. So here we go. I have this installed, and right here this is Allen bolt, and I have just tightened it down so it no longer can move back and forth. You see the movement has been minimized and it stays within that groove. So by doing this, it has fixed its problem. Do you need a lathe to be able to do this? No, you could put washers. At first I was just using washers, and then I made a more permanent solution. So you could just buy some washers or have some washers that you have laying around and insert them in here. It could have been me. I could have damaged it. But for some reason I started to have movement right here, and it wasn't letting me roll the bead correctly. And it could have been, like I said, it could have been me, or it could be that this isn't a high quality model. I don't know. If someone out there has a more expensive one, because I believe this was 60 bucks on Amazon, if somebody bought the more expensive one, leave a comment below and let us know if the better quality one works better. But after I did this, I haven't had any problems. So now I'm going to do a demonstration on how it works, and we're going to start with this steel pipe. Now I haven't done steel yet, so I'm sure it's going to take a little bit longer, and I'm going to have to just kind of take my time. And I discovered that this doesn't work immediately. You're going to have to do like a quarter of a turn, or just snug it and roll it a bunch of times, and then give it another snug and roll it a bunch of times. You have to take your time with this. And perhaps in the beginning I wasn't taking my time. I was just going too tight and rolling it, and maybe I'm the one who damaged it. I don't know. So let's just go ahead and roll the bead so I could show you guys. So one thing that you're going to want to do is whenever you cut your piece of material, you're going to want to clean all of it off. You're going to want to grind that down and clean it off very well, because it's going to start to bind up in this roller and you're not going to be able to do a good job. Okay, so this is exactly what I was talking about, that you're going to have to play with this. So this is the first time I'm using this bead roller in this vise. So I ran into another problem here. So if you insert this pipe here, like this, like so, okay, you run into the situation how it was installed before, that this was too low and it wasn't going to be able to rotate. So you could push this forward, but then the crank is going to start to crash. So you're just going to have to play with it. I have it raised up a little bit. Now I'm able to go ahead and start to roll the bead, and we get this job done. Let's see how it works now. So okay, so I had to change locations. The other vise was simply not working. It wasn't letting me roll the bead correctly, and the crank was starting to crash, like I was mentioning before. So I had to switch over to this vise. Now, the nice thing about this vise is you have these clamps right here, which are smaller, okay? And you can swap this around and have the bigger one. So I'm gonna swap it over and set this up, and we could get going once again. I'm happy all this happened, like that you guys could be aware of what you could run into if your vise is too wide. This product might not work on it, so this is something to keep in mind. Okay, a quick tip. So when you're rolling the bead, you will know when it's time to tighten this down. When you start to rotate this crank, and it becomes easier than when you started, like right now. Now it's time to just snug it up a little bit and go again. Okay, so we have a good bead on there, and it was actually able to do steel, so I'm very impressed with this. I wasn't sure if it was going to be able to do steel or not. In the description it does say that it could do steel, but I wasn't sure about it, so check that out. Okay, so I wanted to give everyone that's watching a better understanding of why we're doing this. So you can see there's a bead on here and there's nothing on this side. So when you're trying to connect pieces of pipe together, these rubber connectors, you have to slide it over it just like this. Okay, so this side has a bead, okay, and then you run your clamp over it, and then you secure this down. Now you're securing down the part that's beyond the bead, so when you build boost on your vehicle, this is not going to slide off of here. So you're building high boost, even low boost, this has a chance to slide off if it didn't have the bead. So you could just imagine if you just cut a piece of pipe and you stick this rubber connector over it and you clamp this down. It doesn't matter how much clamping force you put on here, it will still have an opportunity to slide off. So by rolling a bead, you're securing both of the parts together. So you see this a lot in the cooling hoses, you see this a lot in all sorts of connections. There's always some type of bead, some type of bevel around it, so you could clamp down your rubber hose, your silicone parts, your silicone material, and clamp it down with force and not split apart. So now I have to roll the other side, and I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward to that. But notice that when I'm rolling this, when I'm using this bead roller, I am putting my hand here and I'm rotating it, and you do need to put a little bit of force, not much, but just to make sure you keep it pushed against the tool so it could roll it properly. So I have showed you on a piece of steel how well it rolls it. So now we're going to do a piece of aluminum, and basically I'm replacing this piece forward. I'm replacing it with this piece of steel, and if you stick until the end of the video, I'll show you exactly why I'm doing that. So I'm going to chop this up and then roll a bead on this and show you guys how it works. So one thing to keep in mind, okay, this is painted. This piece of aluminum has been powder coated, and when you start to roll the bead on here, it does seem to flake off, and it's not going to look the same. So keep that in mind if you're doing any type of intercooling piping like I am. If it's powder coated, it's going to look really bad. So it's just going to flake off. It's not any good. So this came in the kit that we purchased, and there's nothing that we could do about that. So we should have picked one up that wasn't powder coated, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna chop this up and roll a bead and show you. So there we go, guys. On aluminum and steel, this bead roller is able to do its job. So is this the best product on the market? I don't think so. Probably not. There's probably nicer ones out there that work a little bit better. And remember, I did have to put the spacer back here in order for it to work. Is this the one for you? Maybe. Maybe if you're working with a budget and you're not going to use it so much, this will work just fine. If you're going to be doing this all the time, maybe invest in one that's a little bit better quality, I would say. But if you're going to do this just like I have, just to do a couple of piping, and I'm going to let it sit in a drawer, this is going to work just fine. So there you guys have it, the good and the bad on this product. So does it work? Yes, it does work. Will it last? Well, I don't know. You can see I have used it quite a bit right here. There is a little bit of scraping, and that's the pipe that's rubbing against here when you're turning it. So if you decided to stay until the end, let me show you exactly why did I do this. Let's go ahead and cut to that. Alright guys, so if you stuck it through the end, let me show you exactly what I did. So that metal piece of pipe that you guys saw me do the bead roll on, I installed it here in between the intercooler, and up there, up towards the other side, is where the charge pipe goes into the intake manifold. So I have to install this air temperature sensor. So I welded this bong here. Of course, I could have done it out of aluminum, but I don't have an aluminum welder. So I had to make it out of steel. So that's why I use exhaust piping. It happens to be the same exact size as the intercooler piping. So here's the back piece, and this is the other side that I did a bead rolled on it. So here's the back piece, and then the piece that goes in front of it is right here. So now when I install this temperature sensor, I am going to be able to take a reading, an accurate reading from the intake. So if you're interested in checking out this project, this is a turbo Miata. We just finished slapping this eBay turbo on here. So everything is done except for this. This is all we were missing, and now it is complete. So now as soon as I install this and wire this up, we could tune this guy and we could make this go down the road. So yeah, this bad boy goes right in here, and I'm gonna send it home right now. And it does come with this pigtail. So this is not designed for this vehicle. This is a GM air temperature sensor. So the computer, the ECU that we're getting, it's supposed to be able to read this temperature sensor, and we're supposed to be able to tune it. Okay guys, so I just wanted to show you exactly how those pieces were going to work on the Miata. So if you want to tune in for further projects, subscribe, follow this project. I have the Miata, I have how-to videos, I have a ton of videos coming up. So subscribe, check me out, and we'll see you in the next one.